Okay, here we go. So here's the problem. The problem with this problem, you're like, Miss T, why are you making a deal out of this? I'm going to show you what the problem is. We're converting it into vertex form. We're doing exactly what we did on Friday. Nothing new about that. It's going to have the little parenthesis. It's going to have the number added on. But the problem is this guy right here. We don't like to have a number in the front. It kind of messes us up. So we're going to have to deal with him. Now again, I'm going to show you kind of a cool little visual aid on this. But some of you, I'm also going to explain the mathematical reasoning, and you're going to be like, Miss T, I don't even need your little visual aid. And if that's you, that's awesome. But for some people, it might be really helpful. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to do that completing the square thing. But so we always need to move this dude. Remember, we need to get him on the other side. So can you do that for me? Can you write it like this? Y minus 93, and leave a nice space for x squared minus 40x. Is that cool, everyone? I haven't lost anyone. That's how we started on Friday. We just moved that guy over because we need to have that space, right? So here's the problem. Problem is this 4. So what I need to do, look how everything that we've done all year comes back into play. We're going to vacuum this little guy out a little bit. We're going to vacuum out that 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 4 out because I don't like him, and I am going to put what's left. So it's really factoring, but I am vacuuming out that 4. Does everyone see what I did there? Yeah? So that's what I've got. Now here's where we're going to get a little tricky. We're now going to put the box right here. Is everybody cool with that, right? But here's where this is going to get a little bit interesting. So I'm just bringing this down. I'm just showing every step. Some of you are like, I could skip that step. Normally, we would add the box over here. Does that make sense, right? But here's the trick. I'm not going to just add the box here and add the box here. I've got to account for that 4 that is on the outside. So what I want you to think of it, this is where it gets Mrs. Tarantino goofy. I want you to think of having the number out there is in a little cloud, right? A little cloud. And what I've got to remember to do is put my cloud box right here. That's the whole cloud box. Because watch what happens. I'm going to take the 10, I'm going to cut it in half, right? And I get 5. And I square 5, and I get 25. But I am not adding 25 to the other side. I'm really adding 4 times 25. Does that make sense? Because I had that 4 on the outside. So the way I think about it is I think that I have to do cloud box, right? I take the box and I times it by the cloud, so I have 100 over here. Does that make sense? The mathematical way to remember this is that whatever we put in the parentheses, we have to remember that we're multiplying it by the 4 on the outside. Yeah. I took the 10 and I cut it in half, and then I squared it. That's the completing the square. Right? Does that make sense? Yes. So 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 40 10 times.
You did not realize that. Okay.
Excellent. So now we're ready to bring this baby home. You ready? Here's what we get. Y minus 7, y plus 7, I'll do my math right, are we good? Equals, the 4 just hangs out. He's just going to hang out front from here on out. Because we always want this to just be an x plus something or an x minus something. We don't want a number in the front of it. So I'm just going to take my x, and I take my minus, and I take half of that guy. And we are almost finished. The last thing we do is we're going to ask that 7 to get back to his place, right? And when he goes over that equal sign, he turns negative. It's a lot. We got this whole new step in there, right? We're adding, it's already a lot of steps, and now we're adding a middle step. But if that helps you, that cloud box thing, I'm hopeful for some of you. It's like, oh yeah, I got to fill in the cloud box. Yeah? But some of you are going to be like, that's stupid. Let's see, I can do it. Okay, you guys ready? Let's try one together, and then I'm going to have you try one. You guys ready? Here we go. Okay. For some of you, if you get the hang of this, go for it. Go for it yourselves. But for some of you, son of a bitch. I didn't tape any of that. That means I got to do a second period. That's it. Second period, as Ava well knows, handful. So,
Oh, yeah, just wrong.
is it taping? Oh my God, then never mind. I love you. Bye. Okay, so I'm so excited. Because second period, there's chatty. So here we go. Let's move that 25 over. Ready? Let's move that 25 over. So God knows what this tape is going to sound like because I don't even know what's on it now. I never go back and listen. It's so awkward. 2x squared plus 16x. Okay, I'm stopping right there. Deep breath. All I did, move the 25, right? For me, right now, I'm going to add the silly cloud box, right? If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. But if it's helpful, look, it looks like a little lion. You see it like I could put little ears on it? Sorry. Okay, never mind. So here's what. Now this is the tricky part. We got to do that little bit of vacuuming. We got to factor out that 2. So we're going to take out the 2, and we're left with x squared plus 8x. Now we put our box on and a little cloud around this guy if that helps. If you don't want to do the silly things, you don't have to. So here's what I have. Y minus 25 plus lion cloud box. Swear to God, if any real math teachers ever watch me. So here's what. How do I fill in this box at the end? Think in your head. Take the 8, cut it in half, and we get 4, and then we square it, and we get 16. But that's not what we add to the other side. Can you whisper to a neighbor what we're going to add onto the other side? Because it's not 16. Whisper quietly real quick right now. Tell each other. Maybe write it down on your desk. Like, anyone brave enough to tell me what I add to the other side? 32. 32. Here's why. It's 16 times 2. So it's 32. Awesome. Awesome. Y plus 7, does that seem right? 32, take away 25. And remember, we're going to write that nicely. X plus half of that, which is 4. We are almost done with this bad boy. We're going to ask that 7 to please come back to the other side. And we're done. And we're done. Can I see a show of fingers if anyone did it by themselves? They got all the way through it on their own. A few of you? Okay. Okay. The next one we're going to do is weird. It's a crazy one. So here's what I want you to do on this one. Let me make this problem big. I want to make it really big. Okay. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor on this one. And the favor I ask, normally I'm like, you can do this, you can skip it. But on this one, I need you to do it. I want you to put a 1 in front of that negative sign in the very beginning. Because in this case, we really need to recognize we have a number in the front. If you remember when we took our test 2 weeks ago, and I said, if there's a number that's negative in the front, you've got to take that negative out. This is what I was talking about, right? So here we go on this. First thing we're doing, you're writing this down, please. We're going to move that 94 over. Can you do that, everyone, right now? Move your 94 over. And for my friends who like my goofy things, visual aids, do it. If you don't, you can skip it. Now, here's where this is going to get a little weird, but it's not too bad. Okay. I don't want anything in front of that X. I really want him to be naked or really just have a 1 there. but he's got a -1. So I am going to vacuum out the -1. Are you guys cool with that? So watch what happens. The -1 comes out, and I'm left with -1 into -1 is just x squared, and -1 into positive 20 is -20x, and now I add my little box. How are we doing? Are we okay? So now let's fill in our box. You guys ready? You're going to go to 20. You're going to cut it in half, and you get 10, and then you square it, and you're going to get 100, but we're not going to add 100 to the other side. What are we adding to the other side? -100. -100. Do you see why? Because of this guy. -100. That is awesome. That's awesome. So here's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get y minus 6 equals the -1 stays out front, and then I just do my little parentheses that I did on Friday and I did on the starter and we're good at. I take the x, I take the minus, I do half of that guy, and the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the 6 to head on over to this side. And here's what. This guy is a sad graph. Remember, he's an upside down one because he's got the negative in front. Will you have one of those on the test on Friday? Absolutely. Yes.
Can you not multiply the -100 by the -1?
Well, it turns out, so when we're completing the square over here, great question. We take that -20 and we cut it in half, we get -10. -10 times -10 is positive 100. So then it will become -100. Does that make sense? So here's what's weird. What we put on here is almost always positive, but what happens over here could be positive, could be negative. Good question, Lena. That was really a good question. Okay, big deep breath. My little lobsters, I'm turning up the heat. Last one, best one. Can you try this one on your own? Can you give this one a try? This is everything. This is, and actually somehow or another, when it's a 1, it seems harder than when it's a -2. It doesn't seem as bad. So somehow the harder one seems easier. Give this a try. This is algebra 2. The difference between algebra 2 and algebra 2 trig. Algebra 2 trig would be putting fractions out there. And we leave those for C-calc. We still can do the fractions. Okay, everyone's trying this. Everyone's doing this problem, and the phone is going away, or you're going to the library. One of the two. You are welcome to talk to each other, help each other out. I'm going to let you lie to me, Max. Tell me what the calculator. Got a calculator? That's one I like to see. I'm going to do this one in a second. Max is not a nerd. I was lying. I just have that on tape forever and ever. And Blaine, if I walk by and stop that, then I'm taking the problem. Oh yeah, it is. About two more minutes. Are we about ready? I'll give you plenty of time. Share it with your neighbor. See if they're doing okay. Help them out if they're not. Talk to each other. Make sure everyone's got this. This is tricky. This is hard. I love this stuff. Everyone got an answer they like? Yeah, kind of, maybe? Okay, here we go. No, wait. Okay. So I'm going to move that 120 over. That's where I'm starting. And then for me, I put on my cloud box, but you can do it how you want to do it if you don't want to do that goofy step. I have other kids like, I don't like that. And I was like, don't do it then. Negative 2x squared minus 32x. Everybody okay? Yeah? I'm going to vacuum out a negative 2. Nice and careful. The negative 2 comes out, and I'm left with x squared plus 16x plus the box. I'm ready to fill in my box. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the 16, I'm going to cut it in half, which is 8. 8 times 8 is 64. But I don't add 64 to the other side. I add negative 128. So what I'm going to get is y minus 8. The negative 2 comes out, and I'm left with x plus 8 squared. And I ask the negative 8 to please come to the other side. He does. That is as hard as those get. Can I see a wiggle of fingers if you got it right? Wow, nicely done, nicely done. Wow, impressive. Okay, we got one last problem and then I'm shutting up for the day. Here's what happens on your test on Friday. On your test on Friday, I'm going to give you an equation and I'm going to ask you to do just a bunch of stuff to it, right? And one of the first things I'm going to ask you to do is rewrite it into vertex form. And then I'm going to have you graph it. But I'm going to show you the reason we're doing this is because this baby I can graph in seconds once it's in vertex form. So the first thing I'd like you to do is with your neighbors, I'd like you, this is an easy one, it's got no like crazy cloud box, just do the box thing. I'd like you to take this guy, rewrite him into vertex form if you would. So take this guy right here. This should be nice and easy, nothing scary. Just rewrite him into vertex form. Do that right now. Take a second and do that right now for me. Rewrite it into vertex form. This is called standard form, no parentheses. Let's rewrite it in vertex form. Really, like it, you guys should be getting good at this now. Move the 6 over. So you should be able to do this. Everyone should be able to do this. I'll do it with you while you do it. And if you're like, hey, Miss T, this one's easy. Yay, it should be. Nothing weird. Put my little box right here. So 4 cut in half is 2. 2 squared is 4. I'm going to put them over here. I'm going to put them over here. So I'm going to get y minus 2 equals x minus 2 squared. Y equals x minus 2 squared plus 2. Are we okay? Now, here's what's cool. I can graph this in literally 10 seconds. 10 seconds. And here's how. First thing is, I get my vertex by stealing it. I don't do any math. Matter of fact, I'm not going to do any math for the rest of this problem because, you know, hate math. So, I'm going to take my vertex. How do I get it? I take it from this guy opposite because he's naughty. I take it from this guy regular because he's regular. Are we cool with that? 2, 2. So easy. Now, normally, I would say to you, you've got to plug in some numbers and do a bunch of work. But here's what I'm telling you. This is the standard form. And remember how we got our helping point on the standard form? We just stole the 6. We didn't even have to do any work. We just stole the 6 and we put it right here. And then we just steal it and put it right here because this equation and this equation are the same. So I can steal the vertex from this guy. I can steal the helping point from this guy. And I don't have to do any more math. I'm done. Right? So fast. So the standard form is good for the helping point. The vertex form is good for the vertex. If you have them both, no math. No math. Does that make sense? It's easy. I like it. I like it. So, I'm stopping here. Goodbye, my COVID friends. See you, Manya. We miss you.